It's June 8th, 2020. And I thought I'd give a general cultural overview. So, from my own experience, I was basically born a non-theist. Then, at the age of 5 or so, I was taught that there was a sky god. Then, when I was like, then when I was like, 6, 7, 8, I was taught that Jesus wants me for a sunbeam in the Mormon church. Then, at age 11, I learned that whacking off was not ordained of the Mormon God. And then at age 12, that you need to mandatorily confess to your Mormon bishop if you engaged in completely normal coming-of-age activities as a 12-year-old boy. And then, at age 19, went to Alaska as a naive chump to try to tell people that the Mormon church was the best. I had some wacky companions there. Some nice, some not nice. Some violent and unhinged. One in particular. A nut job. Violent nut job. Then, at 21, came back and 19, 20, yeah, so 19, 20, 21, found that was kind of so repressed, but couldn't really interact with women. To tell the truth, repressed Mormon boy. Then, at 25, decided, while I was at BYU, decided that I did not need to apologize for being a normal human being. Then, from the age of 26 to about 35, 36, 37, was a ultra-leftist reactionary, a member of 2 Unitarian Universalist churches. An ultra-leftist Democrat and socialist. Then, while living in Portland, I decided that it would be good to have a family. Decided almost too late. So, Portland doesn't have enough sun. So, decided to move back to Utah because there's more sun. Then, found a wife from China. And then, had 4 kids. During the process of having those kids, changed from an ultra-leftist to a pragmatic, evolutionary social conservative. Pragmatic, evolutionary social conservative. and a Trump supporter. So, when I was at the Unitarian Universalist Church, one of them, called the anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter what it's called. It's the Unitarian Universalist Church. I found that the Unitarian Universalist Church is basically a catchment for the rejected and dejected, for better and for worse. Now, the for worse part comes in that the UU Church is a magnet for what could reasonably be called outlier people. And I'd use more harsh language. I'll use more harsh language because of the reaction that I get from leftists when I tell the truth about this. Outlier freaks. Now, a force-chosen outlier is someone who forcefully separates themselves from evolved inherent reproduction. So, in the UU Church, one day they told us that Muhammad was an advocate for social justice and for women's rights. And this happened during a meeting where they were letting the atheists speak, and several members of the audience spouted this utter lie. And then I noticed that on the wall of the church there was a bullshit statement about Muhammad. And also, during the first part of their meetings, they have a part where the children have a little micro lesson. And there was this teacher lady who said, well, Muhammad was a great man and so wonderful. And then after that, I found out that the Unitarian Universalist Church has a curriculum that puts out this bullshit about Muhammad being a social justice warrior, a social justice advocate. Utter whitewashing of the abusive nature of Islam and of Muhammad's own history and life. Utter whitewashing. So, in subsequent years, we had the Charlie Hebdo massacre. We had the Garland, Texas attempted massacre with Bosch Foston present. And then we have Twitter banning Mr. Bosch Foston. We have Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Google banning anyone who's critical of Islam. And so, with the cultural landscape, there are several dynamics going on. One is that memes which help genes survive are preferred. And so, in all honesty, the cultural left sees itself as broken. Why broken? Because they don't produce babies. They disfavor reproduction. Okay, the Stonewall crowd is essentially a death cult, and leftism in general. The gated community elitist whites, liberals, I won't use the word liberal, it's leftist, who have almost zero kids. They want unhinged immigration, and they favor Islam because both of those groups have kids. Okay? They see themselves as a death cult de facto. They may not admit to it, but they, by their actions, see themselves as broken, and they are broken. They are broken because they forgot how to have kids, and they tossed the baby they toss the baby of evolved morality out with the bathwater of mysticism. So I have sympathy for the libertarian stance, except that libertarians are often just denialist hippies. Pot is not the answer to anything. Getting your brain hijacked with drugs is not an answer to anything. It's a good way to hobble and fuck up your life. Now, for certain people, maybe they need it for medical reasons, but in general, the stuff should not be used. That's one example. Another example of libertarian dumbshittery is how the Communications Decency Act, Section 230, allows retrograde piece of shit, censorious, evil platforms like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, but Facebook being the worst of the three or four, whatever. Those companies get legal cover from CDA 230. And libertarians just can't wrap their brains around how government is already serving as an enabling force for censorship. And these places are the new public square. Where else are you going to go? Now, I support Minds and BitChute 100%. Gab is a little more problematic because its founder, Andrew Torba, has gone off the rails on porn. And while commercialized porn is a bad thing and hijacks brains, that's true, and he doesn't have to have it on his site if he doesn't want. But Torba advocates for mandatory government ID checks for pixels he doesn't like. So Gab is bad. Mine's BitChute better. I don't have a problem with people saying, okay, we don't want it on our site, but mandatory government ID checks for pixels you don't like, fuck that. So back to the baby making thing. If you leave a religion like Catholicism, Mormonism, Islam, your first inclination is going to be fucking chapped off, and rightly so. You've been lied to, but you'll jump to this stance, the reactionary ultra-leftist stance that talks about the leftist party line that support for the LGBTQ PC Stonewall agenda, that the claim that gay marriage is even a thing when it's not. The thing, that babies should be able to be killed en masse, and Margaret Sanger's racist eugenicist Margaret Sanger's baby killing abattoir Planned Parenthood, which kills a lot of black babies. You support all those things. You support the denialism of postmodernism, which claims that humans are not a sexually dimorphic species. Go to your average museum, your dumb shit postmodernist run museum, such as the Utah Museum of Fine Arts or the Utah Museum of Contemporary Arts. Now, I'm in Utah, but go to any of these museums, even if they're not, and you'll find postmodernism dumb shittery. Okay, social constructivism is bullshit. Postmodernism is bullshit. It's a lie. It's a set of lies. And it leads into what is essentially a death cult. Why? Because it promotes non-reproduction. So the postmodernists fucking love Islam. And because the Islamic people have babies. And we are a sexual species. So if you're not having sex to have babies, and sex only happens when you have a situation where babies are a natural result of your activities, then you're broken. And the left sees itself as broken, and rightly so. So I don't advocate for, let's all just rejoin the religions, because religions have abusive elements. But let's take a pragmatic, pro-life, pro-good evolution stance and approach and push for that. Humans, people who eat organic food from Whole Foods should be willing to appreciate how there's been 1.2 billion years of evolutionary history, which back up our natures. The most important thing you can ever do in your whole life is have kids. Granting life. What power is there in granting life to someone? What power is there? There's no greater power than that. Granting life. That is the power of the gods. The mythical gods. So, don't let the left rob you of your inherent evolved nature. Don't let the left cheat you and send you into a dead-end death cul-de-sac. And so that's my message. That's my message, and that's the cultural landscape. So I stand with the free speech people, for sure. Mr. Bosch Foston, people like, Carl Benjamin, Pat Condell. But my message even to the free speech crowd, I guess the small L libertarian crowd, is that the postmodernist Stonewall camp is truly a death cult, and anything that sucks people away from their heritage as evolved inherently in reproductive, sexual, emergent property animals cheats people. So that's a key point. All right, that's it.